You've heard the stories of abandoned old castles where shadowy figures are seen emerging at dusk before dissolving into a cloud of fluttering bats. Well, today I want to tell you a different kind of scary story, one that most artists know all too well. But will this little button-eyed vampire be the villain or the hero? My name's Jo, by the way. I'm a full-time doll artist based on a narrowboat in Wales. As summer arrived in Wales and the holiday season began, sales of my spooky little dolls began to dwindle. As one of my staple materials started to run out, I was left wondering, is it worth carrying on? Maybe my work just sucks. Refusing to be defeated, I scraped £20 together and ordered a pack of kapok fibre, only to find it full of tiny, dark flakes of husk. There was no way I could use this for stuffing white cotton. There had to be something else I could use. I dug through some boxes in the storage unit and found a small pack of crimped viscose fibre. I'd never tried stuffing with viscose before, but it was worth a try. The viscose is coarser and has a more springy texture than the kapok. It's not as easy to push into the small details. It looks similar to polyester, but it feels a bit smoother and heavier. I found it a little bit tricky to work with as it was so different to the kapok, but it seemed to be packing firmly into the cloth doll pieces and creating a good shape. Stuffing the hands was the most awkward part. It took a lot longer than it usually would, but after a while I started to get the technique and the result was looking good. I decided to paint some long lace-up boots in acrylics. I added a little bit of fabric medium to the paint to help it sit better on the fabric. It took 3 coats of charcoal grey to cover the stripes. I used my hairdryer to dry it off in between coats and then added some laces in titanium white. I didn't manage to capture the bead jointing process this time, but I'll put a link to a video I made about bead jointing at the end. At this point, I still wasn't sure what the outfit was going to look like. I was going back and forth between different fabrics and ideas. I'd lost confidence in my work and was feeling indecisive. As I was attaching the legs, I noticed a splodge of paint on the fabric. Fortunately, it hadn't fully cured, so just a little dab of soapy water and it was gone. I wasn't beaten yet. Whether I found a buyer or not, I wanted this doll to be the best she could be. I felt like she needed some big, bold, dark shadows behind her eyes. As usual, I used the Derwent Coloursoft pencils to get the deep, smudgy effect. I chose black and petrol grey to achieve a high pigment finish and softened the edges with the blending pencil and a fabric eraser. I'll put some links to these in the description. I added a coat of fixative spray to set the shading, and then it was time to decide on the dress fabric. I wanted something monochromatic with a spooky feel, so I chose this quilting cotton with a tiny skull and crossbones print. I usually hand-stitch darts in the sides of the bodice, but I wanted to push myself, so I used the body template to work out the placement for the darts and machine sewed them before adding the bodice to the doll. It took a couple of adjustments to get it right, but it was actually much easier to get a good fit. I think at some point I'd like to try making removable clothes, but for this doll I decided to keep it fixed and close the seam at the back with ladder stitch. From the very beginning of my doll making journey, I've always tried to make each doll just a tiny bit better than the last. I'm always looking for new and better ways to do things, so every doll will always be one of a kind. I thought some pale buttons would create a nice contrast with the dark shading on the eyes, so I picked out some light grey resin coat buttons. They seem to give her a far-away, mysterious look in her eyes, perfect for a little vampire. I stitched them right through the head using some Gutterman top stitch thread, so they'd sit nice and flat to the face. Getting the placement right takes a bit of practice. I try to get the buttons central on the shading. Because the whole area behind the buttons is shaded, it seems to give them more depth. I don't want to risk any white fabric showing under the edges or through the buttonholes. I created the detail on the face with Derwent line maker pens. I'd be lost without my little magnifying lamp for this bit. I don't have much space here on the boat, but this lamp just clips onto the edge of my desk. It's USB powered, so I can even use it on 12 volt when I don't have the mains electric. I wanted to keep the face quite simple, but I just gave her a little shading under the mouth in a dark red to make the fangs stand out. The burnishing pencil from the Derwent blending set is great for blending fine details like this. I felt like the skirt needed to be full but not too heavy or tailored, so I used 2 layers of black lace. I machine sewed the seam up the back of each skirt and gathered up the top with a running stitch, then stitched them to the doll. I made the top layer about 25% wider than the bottom layer to make it a bit fuller. Once the dress was complete, I attached the arms and then it was onto the hair. I was unsure what fibre to use for the hair, as I've never needle felted into viscose stuffing before, but I figured viscose should felt well into viscose, so I chose some black viscose roving I had left over from another doll. This fibre gives a lovely sleek smooth finish, and it can be heat styled if needed. I started felting at the back of the head with 3 38 gauge needles in the clover tool and worked forwards in overlapping rows. If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you'd like to see more. It just needed a quick blast with a hairdryer to smooth it out a little and a trim with scissors to neaten up the ends. She was really starting to look like a little vamp now. I made her a necklace with tiny iridescent seed beads and a cute little silver-plated back charm. I named her Amaris Darkarch. Just a few hours after listing her on my website, she was gone. I guess this little vampire didn't suck after all. If you'd like to see how I add those bead joints to the limbs, watch this video next and I'll see you next time. Bye!